distinguished guests of the 9th Interstellar Symposium. Thank you very much for the occasion and to be able to present the findings of our paper, which is a 25-page paper. I hope that maybe somewhere in the future we'll all be able to read it, but I will in short present the findings. I represent a startup. It's a small company with its based actually in Austin, Texas. I'm the co-founder. The other co-founder is here, Mr. Matthew Devlin. He's a Texan. He's from Texas. So and hereby we will explore the ways to feed the future space settlers in a hypothetical interstellar generational ship. So we transfer into some kind of a future where we're all dead, as we were told previously, but we're here to envision and inspire. So our basic field of work is space agriculture and space biotechnology. I am a vegetarian now for 25 years, and I've been vegan for 5 years. So we're trying to present a kind of a lifestyle for the future space settlers. So we created a small simulation that is based on the actual data from environmental control and life support systems from NASA, and some parts of our findings from our technological development, which is based on plant-based systems, the systems that are used currently on Earth, such as the closed environment agriculture, hydroponic systems that are able to produce a quantifiable biomass that we can, through some kind of dietary meal preparation, introduce into the future spaceships. So our simulation is developed for a hypothetical case of a generational ship that would take up to 250 years to reach maybe not the nearest star system, but some star system in the coordinates that Major General presented in his presentation. So the whole simulation is based on as a finite closed-loop system, and the timeline is connected to the evolution of the number of crew members. It would start something like a number of 400 crew members. We introduced into the programming a controlled parenting and planning of the population. The assumption is that initially they would be in their early 20s. So there is some fine math into the cycles of reproduction in this generational ship that will take a crew of up to 1,000. So we cap the number of crew up to 1,000 people due to the constraints of mass and volume size of the ship. So in the number of simulations that we've run, the crew number goes up to 890 during these 250 years. We are obviously still not sure if we are even able to reproduce in space, so we take this still as an assumption. So this is a simulation that has a finite number of parameters. We understand that we can show this into more details, but we focused on our specific method that we identified as possibly the most efficient method to feed the future space settlers because of the economy of the resources of the environmental control and life support system. So we believe that traditional animal-based diets will be unviable for a future space settlement because of their huge usage of water and resources. So we are trying to now show how this will work out. So this is a Python code simulation. Is a kind of a gaming engine of the Interstellar ship. It's working with the daily ticks in the program and some kind of annual recalibrations towards various types of parameters. The core classes in this is the generational ship. This class manages crew dynamics such as aging, births, and deaths. There are various inside the data model parameters that are used with this class, and this basically guides the timeline during the 250 years growth. And the second one is the crop rotation manager, which oversees the planting, harvesting, and biomass scaling. So we are able to use hydroponics to produce a number of plants, of which a diet is created that is based on numbers given by NASA in their own data guidelines for calories intake and CO2 exhalation and O2 usage of one crew member. So we based the simulation model on this type of data. And therefore we integrate not only the hydroponics, that is actually production of food, but we introduce algae photobioreactors as a part of the life control and support system due to their efficient production of oxygen and removal of CO2 from the atmosphere of the ships. In this case, we aim to kind of close the loop inside of this habitat module. I'm not sure if this can be seen, but in the lower diagram is a bit more on the generational ship module on how this population growth is programmed during the 250 years. So our job is really not to resolve the propulsion issue. We talk about the biospherics, which is the science of us taking a part of the earthly biosphere that feeds us and that provides us of breathable air into a small enclosed habitat that will go on to the nearest stars. So this is a hypothetical dual toroid ship. Our idea was to introduce some kind of rotational mechanism and that it would have a kind of a central axis space for the production of foods that will introduce some kind of modular rack system that we developed as hardware in the research and development phase. Obviously, there are some kind of volume demands that are guided by the number of crew members, maximal number of crew members. This will change during the life of the mission. The toroids are intended to be compartmentalized in a way that emergencies could be handled easier. So there are a lot of unknowns, obviously, but this is just one of our models. So in this sense, we quantized the numbers, the overall size of the ship towards the volume and space necessary to house a crew of up to 1,000 people. So you can read it here, more or less, but I can summarize it. We envision something like a ship that has the volume size of 40 starships. So this is something like a minimal volume that we could actually have a working ship with all of the necessary equipment and compartments. So we develop a hydroponic system that is more or less 1 cubic meter in its size. It can house up to 24 plants. I'm not sure if everybody knows what hydroponics is. It's a way to produce a plant without the use of soil. So the plants are located into vessels through which some kind of liquid is passed that has a nutrient. So the roots pick up on the nutrients from this liquid, which is basically resolved water, and we have growth according to some specific parameters of the plant species. In these simulation runs, we use 12 plant species, which we analyzed would provide the best, overall protein and carbs and fats relationship towards the calories and the efficiency in order of time to harvest to be able to use them. But we're working on analyzing up to 100 plant species. We just don't still have this in the model. But they are mostly focused on a type of meal planning that we have here on Earth. So we started from a common vegan diet and the recipes that a common vegan eats daily. So this is our base. We can see here some of the parameters of the crew dynamics. So we have a population tracking. The statistics are that we have something like 2 up to, was it 13? I can't see birds per day, and we have something like that's 1 to 15 per day. So there is a crew population dynamics. We cap reproduction, I think, up to 50 years of age. So they will enter from in their 20s in the ship. So, and this where we start to really show the efficiency of the method. Is the hydroponic systems and the algae systems have their rate of recycling of the water, which is an essential resource for the generational ship, and we have a large amount of reusage of waste. So whatever residue is left from the process, we can reintroduce into the loop. I was at a life support system conference just last week in Spain. It's called the Melissa Conference, sponsored by the European Space Agency, and they were repeating this circular economy ideas of we should not call it waste anymore, because nothing should be wasted in space. So the Vegan Out vision is really this vision of a bionic space community where we would take to the stars not only the science of biospherics, but also the essential teachings of environmentalism and ecology and non-violence in its essence. So some additional models are considered for future work that is not covered within this 25-page paper. Is about food processing, some spatial models of the habitat, nutritional optimization, apart from crop rotation. So we ran two types of simulations. The first one is just trying to feed the future veganouts, space settlers, where we're not really introducing any parameters of the life support system, such as the input and the output of gases within the volume, specific volume of the habitat. And the other one is introducing CO2 and O2 from our algae production, which is something that we can control in a way through the, let's say, piping system from the central axis core of the ship towards the compartment. Okay. And here we have the graph on the upper right of the population dynamics from 0 to 250 years. So we see here in the first 30 to 50 years a sharper upward stick in terms of population growth. It will have to be like this, otherwise in the number thousand simulations that we run, we can have a die-off. So there has to be a very fine-tuned, optimal way to grow the population and maintain it later years from 800 to 900, not to suffocate the ship resources at some point of time. So this is a kind of an optimal output of the crew dynamics. To the right bottom, we have the specific plant species that are part of the diet, and we have developed a kind of an application because we treat this as a business, and we will use this for future Mars settlement, where it would be better needed for low Earth orbit space living and moon living. We could still have some support from resupply missions, but this model basically becomes important for living on Mars and essential for living in interstellar space, because we cannot have resupply missions, we cannot have space stocks bringing in foods to future space settlers. And it's more or less what we eat as vegans. You can see there's soybeans, lettuce, spinach, arugula, and these are the plants that have the most protein in them. So the simulation is based on a meal planning, a weekly meal planning, where we have a connection to the plant production system. The plant production system is based on a kind of a plant nursery, so the plants need some short amount of time of seedling and germination, and then they are transferred into the growing racks. So this takes from up to 20, 90 to 120 days, depending on the plant species. So this has to be somehow programmed, and in the future we would like to have like an AI system that will not leave too much time in between of these harvests and plantings, that we can collect needed the biomass. The ship also houses up to 9 space kitchens. These space kitchens would ideally provide food for 100 people. We could have 3 meals per day, which are maybe larger meals, and a couple of snacks. We don't really treat everything as breakfast, lunch, or supper. We just treat it as percentage of intake of this plant, and we have some kind of mixtures. For us, vegans, it is a different attitude towards food. So here we can see some of the plant species and what constitutes them and their respectable harvest cycles. So we normalize the harvest cycles. These are not the exact numbers taken, but for the simplicity of the simulation, these are the numbers. And you can see there in beneath, one of our racks uses 30 liters of water and the basic assumptions of power usage. So we use LEDs. Each rack uses from around 300 watts. And there is a kind of a cycle on an automation system that provides lighting during a period that we call the photo period. And this varies with the plant species. For lettuce, for instance, we use a 12-hour photo period, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. And then we regulate the flow of water in the hydroponic system that we have a flux of water with nutrient every 15 minutes for at least 10 to 15 seconds so that the plants have their intake of nutrients. The nutrients on Earth are produced sometimes even from algae, so we can close the loop with the algae photobioreactors. Here we have some more results. Again, we, during the running of the simulation, have identified bottlenecks. We had some problems with sometimes feeding the astronaut, and we introduced a kind of a buffer. So there is a storage that is needed also initially to start up the production of the food system. So we identified the optimal amount of storage for 50 tons. So we can store the produced and unused foods that could later be used if there is some kind of fall in the production or there's some kind of other type of emergency that happens on the ship. And this buffer, the food storage is essential for the crop rotation mechanism and the future AI, because it also drives the seeding process, the number of seeds that we will have to use to produce food, and with the available space in the racks. So we calculated that the number of racks needed is somewhere from 400 to 900 racks, which depends on this crew population dynamics during the 250 years. Again, these are some basic numbers of the amount of water that circulates in the system. And in the paper you will see how we focus on showing really the efficiency of the method. We don't really have any data on any life support system that introduce animals, large animals. There is only work being done with small animals like mice. But the plants are shown to be part of the recycling of CO2 when producing O2. However, animals are not. These are some of zero-G designs that we're working on for future commercial space stations that show here in the size of a common International Space Station rack, the hydroponic system and an algae system. So these are some hardware developments in the lab and some basic experiments with the plant nursery, with the lettuce and the type of growth of lettuce and the roots that we get. So we have a 1.60 by 77 by 40 dimension is of one rack unit and a reservoir of 30 liters of water that is circulated. On top of each, we have LED lights. This is the biomass photobioreactor that we developed. Its volume is 30 liters, so each of the cylinders is 10 liters of algae. We use the zaruk nutrient for the algae. Here you can see part of the inoculation process. So we can't really introduce into the bioreactor of 30 liters immediately algae. They need to go also through some kind of nursery process as plants go through the seedling germination. And in this sense, we have developed a kind of a smaller vessels, a half-liter vessels for these inoculation processes and personal bioreactors. Here we can see some bubbles. Evidently, oxygen is being created. So we also developed an AI character that is able to guide the Veganauts' future in their training, and we're developing a kind of an app that will be used for future analog astronauts missions, which is one of our also commercial models on commercializing this. I think we're done.
Yeah, hi. This is more of a comment and a suggestion than a question. I'm Les Johnson. I just retired from NASA Marshall Space Flight Center back in August as the Chief Technology Officer. One of the initiatives I started before I left, which I'm sure is on hold because of the government shutdown, was exactly in this area. And there is my understanding, if the plans are still going forward, there's going to be a workshop hosted by the Hudson Alpha Institute in Huntsville to look at exactly these kinds of things for life support for Mars missions in particular. And the emphasis is going to be on not just food. I think they're not going to be quite ready to jump into depending on growing things for food for a Mars mission, but bioregenerative oxygen recovery, because right now the systems on space station are roughly 48% recovery of oxygen. How do you get rid of the extra carbon? You have ways to use it. Water recovery is pretty good, but there are problems with biofilms. And there's a researcher there that has figured out you can put duckweed in the water recycling system, which will eat the biofilms, and all kinds of great stuff. So if you want to talk on a break, I can put you in touch with the people who are going to be working that and the researchers there who might want to have you come in and talk to them.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I could just comment is that there was a NASA person there at the Melissa conference in Spain, where I was like last week. And I mean, we do think of this, again, bionic way of thinking. We would also want to use the biomass produced by the algae photobioreactors, for instance, to be able to produce proteins for various types of uses, for pharmaceuticals, for future kind of bioplastics that we could use in the 3D printer. So the designs of the racks are lightweight. We want to put them in a kind of a flight case and fly to Iceland, lava tubes, and do trainings there in rough isolated conditions. And that it's all become modular. The NASA person there showed a kind of a Mars transit vehicle that has algae embedded in some kind of bags in the walls of the inflatable habitat of the Mars transition vehicle. And it went further into introducing a system that could potentially be used for radiation protection that would house residues like, you know, the solids, the excrements in the walls. So it is, even space poo is important. Thank you.